This week, we are seeing more public companies putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet into the treasury. Recently, Semler Scientific, an American public company, purchased 581 Bitcoin worth $40 million, representing over 60% of their treasury. At the same time, we've also seen this week Metaplanet, which is the hottest stock in Japan right now, up 7x this week alone, and a copycat of Microstrategy building out their own way to bring Bitcoin to the hands of retailers. What does this all mean? What does it mean for private companies? And what does it mean for you as a holder of Bitcoin? Do we expect to see more private companies own Bitcoin in the near future? What are the implications of corporations holding Bitcoin? What if Apple, Google, and other of the largest companies started to hold Bitcoin? What would that mean? And is the Microstrategy Playbook something we're going to see happen in other jurisdictions around the world? These are the questions that we are breaking down on today's episode. GM, welcome to Milk Road Radio, the easiest path to get smarter about crypto. I'm Jay Hamilton, joined by Kyle Reedhead. We believe that on-chain is the next online, and we are here to help you capitalize on it. Kai, good to have you on the show. Let's start off with the news of the day, which is Semler Scientific. What did they do?
Well, Semler Scientific, which honestly I'd never heard of until this morning, until this was announced, but they are a healthcare tech company. So they develop and manufacture and market products and services in the healthcare world, I guess, for chronic diseases. So the last company I would have thought we'd be talking about in the crypto world. But nonetheless, today they announced that they have purchased, I think, 581 Bitcoin worth, as you said, about $40 million in Bitcoin for their treasury, which is pretty interesting. I read sort of their reasoning as to why they are doing this. They have, I think, 60 or $70 million. So they're a good, successful business. They've got a bunch of cash just kind of sitting there. Generally, corporations will put it into treasuries. Maybe they can earn right now anyway, it'd be about 5.25% yield on that. But otherwise, if they're not putting it in that, it's just sitting there and essentially being inflated away. So, I mean, famously, we've heard MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor specifically talk all about this, how he didn't want his treasury to be melting like an ice cube. And so instead, let's put it into an inflation hedge. You could put it in gold, I guess. But what Semler Scientific said in their report today was they see Bitcoin as a better version of gold, and it is way undervalued versus gold. And thus their, I guess, thesis is that, well, Bitcoin has no other option but to go up. And so they want to get some exposure to that. And they've made this purchase with their balance sheet. It looks like they may continue to make this. What they've said is it's their primary reserve asset. So it's not just a one-time buy now. It's as their company continues to generate more revenue. My guess anyway, they haven't fully laid out their plan, is they'll put a percentage of their revenues or their profit into Bitcoin on a, could be monthly, could be quarterly, could be yearly basis, similar to what we do over here at Milk Road, where we take a percent of our profits every single month. We put it in Bitcoin, but also in ETH and Sol, for those that are wondering. And so same sort of strategy, but from a public company listed in the US, which is a pretty big deal, I would say.
What was the impact for Semler? Not only are they making great decisions in our mind with their treasury, but it also impacted their stock price. What happened there?
Well, so from the announcement, I haven't looked in the last little bit, but they were up like 25%. I think they even reached 30% on the day, which is hilarious. Like, you have a bunch of these degens now that are just buying some healthcare tech company out of nowhere. They have no idea what it does. But of course, the price goes up. This will happen with MicroStrategy, and honestly, every company that does this. Will this hold? Will this remain? Like, I don't know. I wouldn't be buying this company here. I don't think they're trying to do the whole Michael Saylor strategy, but I don't know. Maybe, who knows?
I can just imagine the smile on Michael Saylor's face when he saw this news. Like,
he tweeted it out this morning too.
He must just be so proud. He's like a proud dad, the Bitcoin dad. Okay, let's just take a look. Let's step back. So we've got Semler Scientific, as you said, a American pharmaceutical company that I'm sure most people have never heard of, that put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. What other public companies own Bitcoin? We took a look. According to bitcointreasuries.com, we found 40 public companies own 312,000 Bitcoin, valued at about 21 billion, representing 1.5% of the total Bitcoin supply. Now, MicroStrategy, it represents 1% of that. So the majority of that is MicroStrategy. But there's approximately 55,000 public companies in the world, and there's only 40 right now that are holding Bitcoin.
And to be fair, I think most of those companies are crypto native companies. And,
Mhm.
and also this is different from, we just did we've talked a bunch about all the people or the banks really that are holding the Bitcoin ETFs. This is different. This is people that are actually holding Bitcoin on chain in their treasury, which is different than like a bunch of banks or funds buying the Bitcoin ETF. I think most of these 40 public companies though are crypto native companies. They're like Bitcoin miners and others that are in the space. But there are some others, Tesla, probably the
Mhm.
most popular of them all that was in there.
Mhm.
I think, Coinbase obviously does it. And then I think Mercado Libre, which is not a crypto
Mhm.
company, obviously. I'm trying to think
E-commerce
who else. Oh,
company.
yeah, e-commerce company Block. Or no, not Block. Well, they do too, but
Yep, Block
Square.
does. Block
But
does.
Square,
Yep.
which is not a crypto company, which is Jack Dorsey's like
Mhm.
payments company, they did this. I'm just trying
Mhm.
to think of the ones from last cycle because there was that moment where when Tesla did it, all of a sudden a bunch of public companies did it. And then we
Mhm.
haven't really seen it since. There hasn't been many companies, at least announcing it, or that we've seen in any reports that they are holding Bitcoin until, well, just recently here today.
Yeah, the other one that stood out to me was Riot, which is a gaming company, and they have
Yeah.
almost 9,000 Bitcoin. So you've got a wide breadth. It's not just crypto native companies. There are others in that list as well. Why are these companies holding Bitcoin, and do you think others will follow suit here, Kai?
I do think others will follow suit. I mean, they're doing it because what else are you going to do with your cash, right? It's sitting there. You could go invest in other companies, but that's quite hard. It's like venture capital. You need to hold a big wing. You need to hire a bunch of people to do that. You could just hold treasuries, and that's 5-6%. I think people are starting to realize, hey, you can hold this other asset that's global, that's permissionless, and is helping, and has a strong use case for many people around the world. And it's a store of value. It's competing with gold, except it's so much easier to hold. And so why not at this point, right? I think we're early in a bull cycle. I think a lot of people are smart enough to realize that. I would assume CFOs can sort of wrap their heads around what crypto is. Regulation is beginning to get much better in the US, which means that they at least can hold it now. They weren't really sure, a lot of them at the time. But now that we have a Bitcoin ETF, an Ethereum ETF coming, it's like, hey, it's pretty crazy not to be holding some of this stuff at this point. You could hold gold, but gold doesn't do a whole lot. And so like it's not that exciting. And so I think, especially if you're a tech company, it's like, why would you not put some percentage of your treasury into Bitcoin at this point?
Mhm, mhm. So when you say that, the Milk Road research team today thought, okay, what if you're right? What if a whole bunch of public tech companies and some of the largest companies in the world start to hold Bitcoin? And so we thought, okay, what would that look like? We brought up an old tweet, which we talked about months ago from Matt Hogan, who is the CIO of Bitwise, who went on a cross country tour, met with a lot of professional investors, and found that most professional investors were going to hold somewhere between 1 to 3% was their plan. They weren't doing it yet because a lot of them couldn't do it because of regulation, but they were planning to hold 1 to 3% of Bitcoin on their portfolio. So we pulled up Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Meta. Total amount of the all of those companies in their cash or cash equivalents is 640 billion. 1% of that is 6.4 billion, representing almost 100,000 Bitcoin, which is about a 0.5% of the total supply of Bitcoin. Kai,
One
how
percent's
does that sit
bearish.
with you?
I think 1% is bearish. I mean, it'd be amazing. I think there's so much capital that's just kind of wasted in dollars. And you named some of the biggest. I mean, Apple has been known for a long time just holding so much US dollars just sitting there. At some point, it will come. I don't think it happens just yet. But I remember last cycle when Tesla announced that they did it. It was basically Bitcoin had to get to about 40K, which was basically double its previous all-time high from the previous cycle. That was when the institutions started to kind of FOMO in. You had Tesla, you had Square,
Mhm,
etc. We're not there yet in this cycle, and it's already starting happening, which is actually super, super bullish here.
mhm,
I don't think this ends with just this one here with Semler. I think we are going to see a bunch over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, but it's going to take, I don't know. I guess with the ETFs, it's on people's radar already. Generally, this industry doesn't get on people's radar until we're like way past previous all-time highs. We've just sort of scratched all-time highs with Bitcoin, but with those ETFs, I think we're starting to get in the limelight a little bit. And so maybe it happens sooner this time around, but I think we're about to see a bunch of these companies do it. And they want it, but realistically, we think that like big corporations are pros and they're going to be the best investors. They're all going to buy the top two. And so I think Will Apple do it? I'm not quite sure if Apple and Google and them will actually do this. They'll probably buy companies in the crypto space more than put their capital into something like Bitcoin. That's my guess. But there's no doubt a bunch of companies that hold US dollars, or in other parts of the world as well, that hold other fiat currencies, they will start buying Bitcoin, maybe even ETH at this point, since we've had the ETF approved. And I think you'll see a bunch. I think this is just kind of the starting point of it. And I think it's going to be like every month and then every week. And then it's going to be pretty frequent. Now, do I think this is like the hyper Bitcoinization when just everyone buys it and they put 100%? Like, no, that's not going to happen. The Bitcoin maxis will tell you that. I don't think that's the case. I just think we're going to see a lot more than 40 companies holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet in the next 12 to 18 months. And I'd be willing to bet on that.
Gradually and then suddenly.
Exactly.
Crypto will go up more than 100x in both users and value over the next decade. If you're listening to this right now, you're extremely early and have an incredible opportunity to capitalize. At Milk Road, our mission is to make you smarter about crypto. That's why we're doing today's podcast and why we send you a daily newsletter for free. But if you're ready to level up as an investor, then let me tell you about Milk Road Pro. We crafted this resource for investors who are already smart enough about crypto and are looking for more actionable insights on how to invest successfully in one of the fastest growing industries on earth. Every week, we break down the latest trends, dive into tokenomics of popular and up-and-coming tokens, and get into the nitty-gritty of market analysis, all to help you invest smarter. Plus, we have a private Discord community for pro members. It's like your backstage pass to the Milk Road crew, exclusive insights, hot tips, and live AMAs with our team. Now, if you're looking to level up as an investor, then click the link in the show notes below and sign up to Pro today. Don't let this bull market opportunity slip through your fingers.
Okay, so we've got this public company Bitcoin treasury strategy that is playing out. That's been, as you said, has been around for a while, and we're seeing it pick up steam. And Semler Scientific, a random company, is leading the way this week. We'll see who leads the way next week. Super exciting. Going to continue to watch that. At the same time, we also have the Microstrategy Playbook, which is a little bit different. Also a public company, but doing it in a different way. And what we are seeing right now, the big news this week, is Metaplanet. Metaplanet is a Japanese company that is essentially a copycat of MicroStrategy, and they are the leading stock on the Japanese stock market this week. They announced that they're going to buy 250 million yen worth of BTC, and they're up 7x this week alone in the Japanese stock market. Kai, what's going on with this? Who is Metaplanet and what's the MicroStrategy Playbook? Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story. MicroStrategy was, this is Michael Saylor, was famous for back in 2020 in the summer there, before anyone was talking about Bitcoin. He put $600 million, I think it was, on his balance sheet, which was insane at the time. Now it's fairly normal. And, he's obviously done really well with that bet. But what he started to do was not just buy a little bit with his reserves, but then he actually started selling shares of his company, basically taking out debt from his company and buying more Bitcoin with that. So essentially leveraging. But when you're a corporation, especially in the US, you can get very favorable rates on when you get debt. So he basically pays 0% interest rates on his debt. And so he's kind of got this like unlimited money loop where he can just keep taking money out of his company, buying more Bitcoin with it. The price of his shares goes up because he holds more Bitcoin, and then he can take out more debt. And he just never pays any interest on it. It's actually a little bit insane. And it's worked really well. He's done it for years. And like you said, he owns like 1% of the total Bitcoin supply at this point.
Yeah.
So interestingly, then these ETFs came along in the US recently this year, and people are still buying it. And his play is still working. Now, why would that be, right? Like a lot of people were buying MicroStrategy because you couldn't get exposure to Bitcoin anywhere else other than buying it on chain, which isn't the easiest thing to do. And so the reason people kept buying it from MicroStrategy and still are today is because, one, there's no fee, right? So when you buy an ETF, you pay some sort of fee. If you buy the Grayscale one, you're paying like 2%, which is ridiculous. If you buy BlackRock, it's like, 0.2%, something like that. So there's a fee that you have to pay every single year. There is no fee when you buy MicroStrategy. So there's one big thing. The other thing is, when you buy an ETF, you're buying one for one. I put in $1, I'm getting $1 worth of Bitcoin. Okay. You can't put in $1, but whatever the share costs. With MicroStrategy, it's a leveraged play. So there is more Bitcoin than what people are putting in. And he can continue to put more Bitcoin in as he takes out, as he gets more favorable debt, et cetera. And so it's basically a leveraged play where it should, in a bull market, go up more than what Bitcoin does. right? But in a bear market, it probably will go down more than what Bitcoin will. So if you are very bullish on Bitcoin, it's better to just buy MicroStrategy than it is to buy an ETF because it's less fees and it should go up more because it's basically like a high beta play on it. So it actually continues to work even with the ETFs. And now you have Metaplanet doing the same thing over in Japan. They've announced this week that they're buying 250 million yen, I think, worth of Bitcoin. I don't think that's that much Bitcoin, but I don't know. I don't know how much the yen is worth. But so they're doing it as well. Appears to be working over in Japan. And then my assumption is, I don't know how many exchanges there are in the world, but there's a hell of a lot. And there's going to be people who want to access this same sort of style of investment into Bitcoin. And so I've seen a tweet just this morning. I think it was the founder of Bitcoin Magazine or something, where he was saying he's already talking with companies from 2 other exchanges where they're looking to implement the exact same strategy. So my assumption is we're going to see this MicroStrategy playbook happen in more than just Japan and the US. Maybe it happens in Canada, maybe it's in Europe, in the UK, and then in Dubai, and then in China, and so on and so forth. I would imagine we'll see this happen more often because it's great for the company and it's great for the investors too. So why wouldn't you do it? And you can't do it this way with an ETF. So it's quite interesting.
So what are you buying? MicroStrategy, the Bitcoin ETF, or just good old Bitcoin?
None. I'm buying ETH and Sol. To be honest, I think I'm bullish Bitcoin. I think at this point in the cycle, Bitcoin dominance is topped and it's time for the rest of the market to take charge, especially with this ETH ETF happening. I think Bitcoin had a great moment and it was super bullish and that was great. But I think it still gets tons of adoption. I think it does really well. I'm not saying don't buy Bitcoin or it's going to do bad. I just think there are better plays in this space at this stage in the bull market. And I think that's probably ETH. I think that's Sol and then a host of others. And so I'm actually not buying any Bitcoin. I've sold most of my Bitcoin, and any Bitcoin ETFs that I've had, I've sold it all. And I'm not really buying much here. Still covering it, still keeping an eye on it because obviously it's still really important. I don't think it outperforms anymore.
Kai, thanks as always for joining us today. Shout out to Eric Semler, the chairman of Semler Scientific, for being on today's show and showing us, leading the way for public companies to start buying more Bitcoin, and the Metaplanet for copying Michael Saylor. Way to go. We got potential for more of these to come. This is just exciting times in the space. Today's news, in case you missed it, Mt.Gox has moved over 140 Bitcoin worth around $9 billion, leading to a bit of a panic as everyone was worried that this would be dumped onto the markets. Now, to quickly reassure the public, Mark Karpels stated on X, as far as I know, everything is fine with Mt.Gox. The trustee is moving coins to a different wallet in preparation of the distribution that will likely happen this year. There is no imminent sale of Bitcoins happening. Look, if you've been around for a while, this is not the first time that the Mt.Gox funds have been moved to a new wallet. They do this for security reasons. No need to freak out, everybody. This is a bit of a nothing burger. But when Mt.Gox is going to distribute this Bitcoin back to their creditors, we will be sure we are on top of it and let you know. Also, in today's news, Luca Netz, the founder of Pudgy Penguins, has made a $100,000 bet. What's the bet, you ask? He has bet with Jez on Twitter, from a partner from Standard Crypto, which is a VC firm. The bet is that Pudgy Penguins will reach a floor of 100,000 USD within the next year. What do you think? We'd like to hear from you. Do you think Pudgy Penguins will hit a floor of 100,000 USD within the next year? My quick thoughts. Right now, Pudgy Penguins is at a floor of about 10 ETH. 10 ETH right now is worth about $40,000. So all that really needs to happen is ETH price needs to go up 2.5x, and boom, we're there at the bet that Luca has made here. So yeah, you do your own math here. Finally, the Uniswap Foundation has revealed that their reserve assets and fund usage, they have $41 million in fiat and stable coins. Look, this is very exciting because it's crucial for the Uniswap community and the broader cryptocurrency market, as it sheds light on the financial health and strategic direction of one of our leading decentralized exchanges. Now, there is an upcoming vote on protocol fees, which could significantly impact how rewards are distributed within the ecosystem, which would affect both Uni token holders and liquidity providers. Shout out to Uniswap. Keep up the good work. That's a wrap. Thanks for listening in, everybody. Have a wicked awesome day.
Thank you for listening to Milk Road Radio, the easiest path to get smarter about crypto. If you like this episode, share it and hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, then we'll leave a link to Milk Road Pro as well, your #1 resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this podcast is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Crypto is risky, so you should never invest more than you're willing to lose. Thank you, friends, and we'll see you in the next one.